Hello everyone, how's this going? Well, in this video, I would like to introduce an overview about three stereotypes in three different countries, Vietnam, Japan, and Russia. My group consists of four members. My name is Hồng Diệu. I will talk about the first part of the definition of five terms: stereotype, bias, prejudice, discrimination, and racism. Next part, three stereotypes. Vietnamese is taught by Ngọc Ánh. Japanese people are thought will be presented by Trinh Nguyễn. And the last stereotype, Russian are stupid by Ngọc Hân. And finally, conclusion by Hồng Diệu is me. Okay, now let's start the part one. According to the website, stereotype social psychology defines a stereotype as a generalized belief about a particular category of people. It's an expectation that people might have about every person of a particular group. The type of expectation can vary. Stereotypes are sometimes overgeneralized, inaccurate, and resistant to new information, but can sometimes be accurate. Example: Girls cannot run a business. Asians are not admitted. Boys cannot wear pink. Next, bias. Bias is an illogical preference or prejudice. It's uniquely human. People and seen investors are human. They can be affected by it as well. Psychologists have identified more than a dozen kind of bias, and any or all of them can cloud the judgment and an investor. For example, bias against Trump can be found in certain instances of reporting. An editorial published in the Washington Post on December 1st, 2015 was titled, Donald Trump is a bigot and a racist. Prejudice is an unfair feeling of dislike for a person or group because of race, sex, religion, especially when it is not reasonable or logical. Example: a person may hold prejudice view toward a certain race or gender. Next, discrimination. Discrimination is the act of prejudice against a person because they have a certain set of characteristics. Discriminated characteristics can include disability, age, gender, religion, race, and sex. Discrimination can take many forms, but in many countries around the world, there are laws prohibiting any form of discrimination. And the last definition is racism. Racism is the belief that groups of humans possess different behavioral traits corresponding to inherited attribute and can be divided based on superiority of one race over another. All the information I collect from many resources and I put it in my video. Next, Ngọc Ánh will talk about.
Thank you, Deep. Hello, everyone. My name is Ngọc Ánh. I will present Vietnamese is dog meat. Referring to Vietnam, people will usually show a lot of a myth about this country, such as people, culture, and cuisine. In addition, there are famous dishes that everyone knows, for example, for bánh chưng and many more. There is a belief that still exists in many countries that is only Vietnam that is dog meat. When foreigners come to Vietnam, they are informed that dog meat is a specialty of Vietnam. Foreigners think that the dog is a loyal friend of man and that humans can't eat it. So what is its origin? Because of the war, the Chinese were very hungry. Lin, can you next slide? The Chinese were very hungry and they took dog meat for food. And from there, it spread to Vietnam as a result. It's also spread through Vietnam along the border. This can be verified by the data showing that the majority of residents in the coastal areas from Móng Cái, Lạng Sơn running along the coast to Hải Phòng know how to and cook served meat. The question is dog meat a traditional Vietnamese dish? On the website mongonhanoi.com, an article has a paragraph with a similar content. First of all, it's a habit of liking out at the end of the month with dog meat. Vietnamese people abstain from eating dog meat on the first day of the year, the beginning of the month, but they believe that eating dog meat at the end of the year and at the end of the month can drive away, wash away risk to move on New Year. Thus, it can be said that dog meat is not a traditional dish of Vietnamese people. So abstaining from eating dog meat at certain times is definitely due to this disciple of the Western Chinese cuisine. Certainly in the world, only Vietnam and two other countries, China and Korea, consider dog meat as a dish that is publicly sold everywhere. In Korea, all dogs are slaughtered a year. About 2.5 million dogs are slaughtered in Korea, especially a dog meat street in Seoul. Many Koreans consider dog meat to be one of their most delicious food. So, dog meat is a dish with a long history in China. In Yulin Commune, Jiangxi Province, every year on the occasion of the summer this people hold a dog killing festival with a number of about 5,000 to 15,000 dogs being killed. Therefore, the bold information has proved that it's the only Vietnam that is dog meat, and the stereotype that only is dog meat is no longer true. Now, I would like Miss Ching will continue next part.
Okay, thank you, Ai. Hello, everyone. I'm Ching, and now I will talk about the stereotype of short Japanese. When we mention Japanese people, there are many things that come to our mind, like they are very intelligent, hardworking, they are extremely polite and punctual. Besides that, another stereotype that sticks to Japanese is short Japanese or little Japanese. Many people think that Asians are short, especially Japanese. Historically, Asians generally have a shorter height than Westerners. Considering in the same area among Asians, history has a record the modest height of the Japanese. I learned the following information from website newbest.vn. When the Japanese sent troops into Indochina, people saw their small stature. The image Japanese soldiers were short, wearing classy cut hats, tight closed hats, with long swords hanging over their bodies. It's still hard in many in Asia since then when they refer to Japanese. They often call them a rude race, short Japanese. The reason why Japanese people are short When Japan's economy was still difficult, society had too many poor people, and malnutrition had been overcome. It was extremely difficult to grow taller. That was also the main reason why the height of Japanese people is limited, because nutrition has been paid much attention. The situation of poverty, lack of food, lack of clothing, so balancing a reasonable diet was probably a fantastic in the situation at that time. Up till now, this stereotype still remains in America, Vietnam, and some other countries without any evidence. Anyway, this stereotype is only true in the past and is no longer true. Japan is a country with high self-esteem, so they are extremely bitter with the same that makes fun short Japanese. So after the end of the Second World War, the Japanese government introduced a lot of reform to train the height. According to the documents published by the New York Times in 1950, the average height Japanese men and women is only 150 centimeter and 149 centimeter. However, after 60 years, looking back, the average height of young people in this country increased by 2.8 centimeter for men and 2.5 centimeter for women. Japan has a big difference, bringing the average height of men to 172 centimeter and women to 158 centimeter. Research by the scientists at the Imperial College London, which were conducted from 1914 to 2014 and published in 2016, shows the process of significant height developed of Japan compared to the world. The height of men increased from 180 centimeters to 102, while women increased from 83 centimeters to 112. So the figure proves that Japanese are not as short as we used to think, and the stereotype about their height is no longer true anymore. All the information I mentioned in this video that were collected from many research, and I also put it on my video. Now we turn to the next part by Ngọc Hân. Ngọc Hân, can you?
Okay, Jin. Hello everyone, I'm Hân, and today I will introduce a stereotype: Russians are stupid or ngang ngũ. Maybe you have seen the term ngang ngũ, which translates as Russians are stupid many times, but maybe you don't understand why we call Russians like that. According to the website ResBN.net, because of the spread of the new things that are fake capitalist goods, the Russians are called ngang ngũ. In the 1980s and 1990s, Russia was in a period of self-sufficiency, so the new item of capitalism looked luxurious to them. For Russians, all of those things are like a new standard of personal life. They say their ways to buy jeans, a crocodile t-shirt, and electronic watch. Russian girls try to get a denim skirt, a rose skirt, a frame adorned with pink pearl, red lip with Thai lipstick, and blue eyelids with layer of lid. That is enough for Cory to admire her lover Ikram. According to the website Lab.vn, Russians are called ngang ngũ because they have many strange things that surprise many people. When you go to some provinces of Russia, you will see images of ordinary people driving tests and passing you. This is a completely normal thing in this country because Russia is known as the country with the most tanks in the world. Vietnam Golden Star Cow is considered a panacea in Russia and for the Russian people as a symbol of strength. Only the selected can open the box. Primary school children go to school have begun to acquainted with and have access to AK-47 guns bottle. According to the website kênh14.vn, Russian has a special personality. In 1908, the Royal Russian Olympic team arrived in London 12 days late and did not have time to participate in the Olympics. The reason is that Russia has not switched to using the Western calendar, so they default to the event date being calculated according to the old calendar. Even at this point, about a third of Russians still believe that the sun revolves around the earth. Besides, many rich Russian men also has the hobby of renting fake ambulances to go places far without having to wait for a red light. In fact, Russians are smart. According to the website Tiền.vn, the Russians have many inventions that trend the world. Russian inventor Igor Sikorsky designed the first helicopter in the US that took off in September 1939. Vladimir Zorikin is a Russian engineer whose invention debuted in the US. He applied for a television patent in the US in 1923. The first electric working lines were opened at the end of 1881 in the suburbs of Berlin on the basis of the design of the Russian inventor. Russia, according to the website tuổi.trẻ.vn, Russia is the first country in the world has 3 vaccines for COVID-19. That thing has proven that Russians are very smart and stupid. Russian is not true. The term Nga ngố is not meant to disparage Russian intelligence. It is just a funny saying when people see strange things about Russians. That's on my part. Next, I want to introduce Hồng Diệu. We'll continue our presentation.
Okay. The stereotype is always one thing that people don't think is positive. In fact, there are also positive stereotypes, but there are few. We can see 3 stereotypes mentioned in the video. Vietnamese eat dog, people are short, and Russian are stupid. Do you think these stereotypes are correct? Change slide, please. No, I think it's not entirely true. Stereotype 1 and stereotype 3 it exist in the past and exist until now. And stereotype 2 is only true in the past and is no longer true in the present. Stereotype 1, Vietnamese eat dog. In fact, not only Vietnam, but also Korea and China eat dog. Besides, the origin of dog meat is from China, not Vietnam. Stereotype 2, Japanese people are short in the past, but now the height has improved a lot and they were short because they have suffered so much deprivation. They didn't have enough food for many years after that. Nowadays, when the economy and science develop, food is no longer rejected. The Japanese had been able to improve the height. The last stereotype, Russians are stupid. We call the Russians that's because they have a special personality and we see some of their accent and talk differently from our. Actually, Russians are not stupid. they are very smart. The proof is that they have invented that serve a useful life for mankind. For example, Alexander Stone, he worked in the field of molecular, created the first photovoltaic cell, a device that converts photon energy into electricity. Why are stereotypes harmful? People with prejudice often live only in their own limited experience and perception. They see only one aspect of things, but they think that they see through to the whole essence. In society, if we not judge others through our prejudice, the first consequence is that we mistrust them, which in turn will lead to wrong action and decision, causing harm to mutual interest and the spirit of other. Once upon self and of every around, people who are badly misunderstood are inhibited, but for those who mistrust others, it's impossible to communicate well with others, from which social relationship will be at risk and broken. What solution should we have? We don't know what a country or region has been through or where they have been affected, because they have different culture and lifestyle. Therefore, from the above stereotype, I learned the lesson. Every should have an overview and respect the culture of each other, not make judgment when they do not know if it's right or wrong. I hope you have learned something useful from our video. Thank you.